The old man sat on the dusty pavement, his back against the cold stone wall of the closed bookshop. In his weathered hands, he held a small, hand-painted sign that read, "Flowers for sale." In a worn-out basket beside him, a dozen paper flowers lay in a neat row. They weren't real flowers, but beautiful creations made from old book pages, each petal carefully folded and curled, their edges yellowed and soft. He was a familiar sight to the people of the city. Commuters rushed past him every morning and evening, their eyes glued to their phones, their minds full of deadlines. They saw an old, homeless man selling scraps of paper. They saw poverty. They did not see the art, or the man, whose name was Elias. That evening, a little girl named Lily was walking home with her mother. Lily was not in a hurry. She noticed the old man and stopped, tugging at her mother's hand. "Look, Mama, flowers made of paper." Her mother, impatient and tired, tried to pull her along. "Come on, Lily, they're just old paper." But Lily's eyes were wide with wonder. She approached Elias slowly. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "They smell like the library." Elias looked up, his tired eyes meeting hers. A genuine, slow smile spread across his face. "That's a fine compliment, little one," he said, his voice raspy. "Libraries are full of stories. These flowers are made from the pages of old, forgotten stories." Lily pointed to a delicate rose, tinted slightly blue. What story was this one? Elias picked it up carefully. "This one," he said, squinting at the text on the petal, "was from a book about a great, blue ocean." Lily was captivated. Her mother, seeing the exchange, felt a pang of guilt. She reached into her purse. "How much?" she asked. 50 paisa, Elias said, naming the smallest of coins. Lily's mother handed him a 100-rupee note. "Keep the change," she said, expecting him to be grateful for the charity. But Elias shook his head gently. "This flower is 50 paisa, he said firmly. He looked at Lily. "But the story it holds, that is a gift." He handed the blue-tinged paper rose to Lily. "Take it, and remember, even forgotten stories can bloom again." Lily took the flower, her face glowing. She looked back at Elias and the remaining flowers in his basket. For the first time that day, and perhaps for the first time in a long time, Elias didn't feel invisible. The next day, Lily and her mother returned. They brought a small, fresh samosa and a cup of hot tea. They bought another flower, and the day after that, they came again, this time with a friend. Slowly, the street began to change. The businessman who always rushed past started nodding at Elias. The young woman who worked at the cafe across the street began bringing him a sandwich at lunch. People started stopping. They didn't just see an old man. They began to see the stories in his flowers. They saw the patience in his hands, the kindness in his eyes, the dignity with which he sat there, creating beauty from things others had thrown away. Elias's little spot by the bookshop became a place of quiet connection. People would buy a flower, and he would tell them, as best he could remember, a hint of the story it came from. He wasn't just selling paper flowers anymore. He was selling moments of peace, fragments of forgotten tales, and a simple reminder of humanity in the heart of a rushing city. And in being seen, Elias, who had been so alone, finally began to bloom himself.